Call set to begin.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll get underway. Okay, so today is Friday, August 16th. The time is 10:35. I am hearing officer, Senior Natural Resource Officer Amy Croto, assigned to run this hearing today. I'll read into the record the notice sent to Kim Reilly and Bruce Bowen of 37 Shamas Lane, Marston's Mills, Mass. 02648. Dear Ms. Reilly and Mr. Bowen, I've scheduled a hearing under the provisions of Chapter 140, Section 157, Mass General Laws on Friday, August 16th, 2024 at 10:30 a.m. based on a complaint received regarding a dog harbored by you. The complaint states that the dog has a vicious disposition, which is in violation of the Town of Barnstable dog regulations, specifically Chapter 403-15. The hearing will take place at Town Hall, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass, in the Selectmen's Conference Room on the second floor. You'll be given every opportunity to be heard at this time. I request that you make every effort to attend this hearing. Sincerely, Mark Els. It's noted that this was delivered in hand on July 25th at 4:35 p.m. to Bruce Bowen by Animal Control Officer Cindy Sherman. So anyone providing testimony, please raise your right hand. All right, do you solemnly swear that the evidence you're about to give in this matter is the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
All right, excellent. So we'll start with you, Mr. Everett. I will be taking notes just throughout the entire hearing because sometimes it takes a little while for the recording to get back to me.
My name's Stephen Everett. I live at 49 Shamas Way in Marston's Mills. On Easter Sunday, approximately 1 o'clock, I was outside with my two dogs. My dog Archie was somewhere behind the pool where he usually goes. My other dog was about 20 feet down the hill. My yard is in 3 stages. It's built into a side of a hill, so it goes front yard, backyard, pool area, then it drops down, and then it goes straight to the trails. The trails are about 70 feet from where the attack happened. What happened was, I was on my phone, I had my head down. I thought my wife was outside. She was previously for a few minutes, but I guess she had gone inside before the attack happened. When I was sitting there, I saw my dog down by the pool, the small female. It was a quiet day, beautiful day, nothing going on. I didn't hear anything. Without any warning at all, I heard an extreme screech from my dog. I jumped up and I started going. I'm older now. I'm going downhill. I get injuries, and I don't move so fast. As I started to come around the hill, the female had already taken off towards the action. When I got there, I saw her dog, the Jundu, Aiko. He had my dog by the face and neck. Picked my dog up. This happened very fast, but I'm going to show you how slow motion it goes in my mind. As I'm going around, I see him. He's taking my dog and slamming him against the hill, picking him completely off the ground and slamming him. He slammed him twice. I came up. The female started walking towards him. He let go, started going towards a female. He saw me coming. He re-engaged with Archie. He just re-engaged, but he pushed down. There's a big pitch where they keep like a trail for them. I had to go down there. I was nervous because I got a bad injury in my right leg. I quickly went down. Luckily, he let go. He took off. But here's where the problem is. Shark in the water. We have 2 dogs, small dogs. I get down. I'm not getting any help. No help from the owner of the dog. All she kept saying was, he slipped the collar, he slipped the collar. I just kept yelling, and I lost my voice. All my voice, all my spit in my mouth. I was so scared. I just said, get your dog, get out of here, get your dog. And she goes, he slipped the collar. Then I'm like, yeah, sure he did. Well, that's when she got mad and just went into full conversation with, you're so full of this and full of that. I don't know exactly what she said, but it just kept going on and on and on. So I'm like, get your dog. So I looked up, I'm looking for my dogs too. I don't know where the female is. I looked up the hill about 50 feet away. My wife is crouching down, holding on to my dog like this, okay? Crouching, holding him. So I see he's got him, so I'm still looking for the dog. She's still talking to me. I turn around, and her dog is now engaged with a mountain biker. He's got the dog in front of him, and he's off the bike, kind of. He's on a sissy bar area, and he's going like this. So I'm still looking for my dog. I turn around, I still can't find my female. The dog is loose, and it's angry. The dog then, I look back again, probably 15 seconds later. Now the guy's up against one of the big scrub pines on the other side of the trail, like this, with his whole bike in front of the dog. I finally go up the hill. We had both dogs. She hasn't stopped talking. Now she's telling him he slipped the collar. See, he slipped the collar. The biker's like, I think he even said, yeah, it's working real well. And that's when we went inside. We ran inside, and then we called the police. But we had no help. She wasn't helping us. She never said she was sorry. She never did anything. It was madness, and we were scared to death. And then my dog, he was whining all night. It was Sunday, Easter Sunday. I couldn't call. I mean, I could call the vets, but the astronomical bill, and I was just monitoring. So that night, he was bad. I called him. He said, bring him in tomorrow. We brought him in. It wasn't tomorrow. It was Tuesday, but we had to wait till Tuesday. And it wasn't good. The dog had sunk at least 2 inches into the neck. I think the only thing that saved him from being killed was he had the dog collar, the invisible fence block dog collar. So even though he engaged in the back, there's 2 in the front, and that's what I think happened. It helped protect him, because I thought he was dead. I really did. He was lifeless when he had him in his mouth, and it was scary. And he's never been attacked, and I'm going to make this very clear. My dog has never been attacked. We've been on the trails since 2011. He's 8.5 years old. She's always out there with power walking with 2 dogs. We heard her talking earlier, and then 15 minutes later, it's down there attacking my dog. There was no harness like she usually has with 2 dogs power walking. It was just the one, and she kept showing everybody the call. Well, not everybody. She's trying to show us and the guy, and we're like, get your dog. So she failed, and that's where we are. And I have my wife's statement here, if you want it. If she's not here, she's in another country, but if that's not suffice, we'll go with my statement.
So I'll have to make a copy of this as well, if
Sure.
you're planning on entering it into the record.
Cindy told me.
Marina is her name?
Yeah, Cindy told me, Cindy, the associate of Charlie, told me, I said, well, that's not going to be it. She goes, a written statement should
Yeah,
be suffice.
That's fine.
So
We
it's
just
not-
have to make a copy of it.
That's fine.
So this is a statement provided by Marina Everett dated August 12th, 2024. On March 31st, 2024, I had just gone inside our house when I heard a lot of commotion coming from outside in the yard. There was lots of barking and yelling. I ran outdoors, and by the pool area, there was loud chaos, and that's when I just saw a large white dog in the yard unleashed. Our 2 Jack Russells were seething scared. I came upon Archie and noticed he had been attacked already. He was shaking. I grabbed Archie as this large dog was barking, ready to come after us. I yelled stop several times, and at some point the dog turned around towards the trail. As Kim continued in a yelling match with Steve, the dog proceeded to attack a male biker. The biker almost fell off his bike and quickly used his own bike as a shield to protect himself. He was yelling and screaming. Meanwhile, Kim was making no attempt to contain her dog. While continuing to yell at Steve, the biker backed up into a tree, still shielding himself from the large dog. At this point, Steve and I were able to gather both Jack Russells and rush inside our house for our safety. Upon arriving to the safety of our home, Steve immediately called Barnstable PD. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that there so we can make a copy of it after.
Good.
Okay, Kim, would you like to start?
Yes, yeah, Easter Sunday, beautiful day. We'd had a lot of rain the previous weeks, and I tried to put my harness on my dog, but he gained too much weight over the winter. It didn't fit him, so I put a martingale collar on him, and we went for a walk, and as soon as we got near his property, Steve let his dogs out of his house, and they came running down the sloped yard, barking incessantly at my dog, who yanked so hard that he snapped the collar. He broke the collar so that it came undone. And I saw Steve come to the top of the hill, and I said, Steve, he slipped out of his collar. Please get your dogs. I don't know what he's going to do. He wouldn't come to me. He's got great recall. He always comes to me, but he was stressed about these dogs that have been barking at him for years across our fence line. And they appeared to be a threat, okay? And my dog went onto his property, and he immediately accused me of doing it on purpose, planning it ahead of time. And I said, Steve, I would never do anything to hurt your dogs. I've been trying to keep the peace with you for months. And I was terrified that my dog was going to attack. And they engaged. I never saw the dog get bit, certainly not get slammed the way he's describing it. And then he's calling me a fucking bitch, get off his fucking property, screaming at me. I'm 60 years old. He's screaming at me Like, I've never been verbally abused like that before in my life. And I was trying to get my dog off the property. Believe me, I was trying to rationalize with him. I would never do this on purpose. It was a bad accident. The timing couldn't have been worse. And he knows that his dogs bark at every person that walks by. And so I would think that he would check the trail first to make sure nobody's walking by so he can let the dogs out without them barking at everyone. And 4 or 5 times a day I hear them bark at people on the trail. And I heard a couple hours later they went out and barked at the trail. So I thought the dog was fine. I know that he ran his dog off the property. It took me a while to be able to get Iko back to me. He is a very protective, loyal dog. He did not hurt the dog. Seriously, if he had, why didn't he take him to the vet that day? My dog has been bit by a dog before. I went to the emergency Buzzards Bay. I don't care what the cost is. He ended up sending us the bill a month later anyway. He didn't take the dog for 2 whole days. How serious of a bite could that have been? Seriously. I mean, he's suing us now in small claims court. We offered to pay the bill, but we want this put to bed. And he refused to sign the release statement. He just has it out for us. You know, I mean, he's got nothing better to do than to harass us. And I apologize. I'm afraid that my dog was going to kill the dog. I really was.
Yeah, and that's what we're here to discuss today. It's not the issues that you guys have as neighbors. It is specific to the issue that happened in the yard with the 2 dogs.
He has never attacked a dog. He's never bit a dog. He's been around hundreds of dogs in his life. He's a gentle dog, and he was threatened by 2 Jack Russells that are vicious, and he doesn't know it's an invisible fence. It looked like they were coming to charge us.
Okay, so I do have a report from Animal Control, which I'll let Charlie get into. I did see, I think you had sent a letter.
Yeah, I called the police right away in Animal Control because I wanted my story told, and I was verbally abused by this person.
Do you want me to read this into the record as well?
Yes.
Okay. So this is from April 1st, 2024, from Kim Reilly. On March 31st, Easter Sunday, my dog Iko and I had an unfortunate encounter with our neighbor Steve Everett, a former Barnstable police officer and current detail officer. As I was walking my dog on the conservation trails off Race Lane in Marston's Mills, Steve Everett let his 2 Jack Russells out as I was passing his property. His dogs aggressively charged and barked at us at the boundary of the conservation trail, which caused my dog to lunge and snapped his martingale collar designed so that a dog can't slip out of it. My dog ran onto their property as he's protective of me, and he interposed himself between his dogs, who appeared threatening to me and me. Steve Everett screamed at my dog to get the F out of here. I was trying to explain that he snapped his collar, and he accused me of doing it on purpose and planning this incident. He called me an effing B. As I tried to explain that I would never do anything to hurt his dogs, he continued to verbally abuse me as I ordered my dog off their property. His wife was present, and I also showed her the snapped collar and said that I've tried my hardest to keep the peace with him, as he's made a complaint with Animal Control last September. In 8.5 years, he's the only neighbor to complain about our dogs, while his 2 dogs regularly bark at anyone who walks those trails. We feel he harbors a personal grudge against us ever since he acquired those 2 Jack Russells, as they are incessantly barking at our dogs who do not bark back at them. He told me, "Get the F off my property. You better pray that nothing happened to my dog or else." It's apparent that he has explosive and uncontrollable anger issues. We're aware of other instances where he lost his temper with other dogs who have run onto his property in response to his aggressive dogs. As half of our property line abuts his, and due to his long-standing animosity towards us, we are fearful for our dog's safety. As a police officer, we realize that he is in possession of a county-issued firearm. We're generally concerned he would use this against our dogs and/or us, and that was CC'd to Animal Control and Natural Resources Division Director Nina Coleman. Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add, Kim, or should we move down the line?
We can move down the line.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bruce?
Yes. You've read the statement from Kim that we turned in. You read it into the record. This is from The Independent, which is a United Kingdom publication. Jack Russell Terriers have topped the list of dogs most likely to attack humans. More reports of canine attacks involving Jack Russells than any other breed as of 2015. Also, it says they are, oh, I got most likely to attack humans. Terriers were found to be more aggressive than other breeds of dogs that are perceived to be aggressive, like pit bulls and bull terriers. You may have this copy and enter it into the record,
Okay.
please.
Will you want this back after?
I don't need it.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Also, I believe Charlie came to our house. I was not there. I was at work and quarantined Iko after this. Previous testimony stated that the police were called on the afternoon of Easter Sunday. I have no record of that. Do you have a copy of that call?
I do
That
not.
would have gone into the police department?
No, I do not.
I went to the police recently to see about any calls regarding our property. That was not handed to me, so I don't know if that actually exists.
Okay.
I can confirm that.
Okay.
Yeah. Could you please? Yeah.
All right, so what's the date?
It would have been March
Easter
31st.
Sunday, March 31st. Thank you.
And what is your actual address?
Our address is 37 Shamus Way. The address of the incident was behind 49 Shamus Way.
On 49 Seamus Way. Not behind it.
So I believe that both you and Charlie did come to our house together to release Iko from quarantine.
Yep.
Was that correct?
Yes, I was working
And
that day.
You have met Iko. Did he seem to be a vicious dog to you?
So I don't, when we release a dog from quarantine, we don't obviously spend enough time with the dog to make any judgment on temperament. The only thing that we're looking at when we release a dog from quarantine is that it is not showing any signs of rabies after 10 days. It was not showing any signs of rabies after 10 days and was released from quarantine. I wouldn't speak to the temperament of a dog that I don't know.
I got you. So we have brought a series of photographs, and you may have these for the record.
Okay.
Showing Iko with the lady in the wheelchair is my dear departed mother. She lived with us for 8.5 months. Those are also other dogs that he has had interaction with, play dates, back when we were still allowed to do that, before the hearing last fall. You can see a variety of sizes of dogs and breeds. And he seems to, at least in these photographs, be getting along fine with everyone. And my mother topped out at 5'3". She was never around big dogs. You know, her father had some hounds that they would go chase rabbits out of the vegetable gardens with, but nothing the size of Iko. And you can see in one of those photos, she's even got her foot on his back end, because she's very comfortable. Also, we had nurses from the VNA for the last couple of months of my mother's life come in, and none of them ever had any problem with Iko. And may I read into the record a letter from Sarah Fennell, and she has put her address here. She was unable to be here today.
Yep, I actually will read that into the record if you don't mind, yeah.
Sick of hearing his
Yeah,
voice.
no, that's fine. It's just, I read everybody else's letters into the record, so we'll keep it consistent. So this is submitted by Sarah Finnell, 23 Sheffield Place in Mashpee. To whom it may concern, my name is Sarah Finnell, and I'm a Barnstable County resident from the town of Mashpee. I'm writing on behalf of Kim Reilly, her husband Bruce, and their beloved dog Iko. I've known Bruce, Kim, and Iko for several years. During that time, I have only known Iko to be a friendly and gentle animal and had a wonderful friend and playmate to my dog, Benny. Iko has always been affectionate and well-behaved around me, my children, and Benny. There has never been one time that I have had heightened concern about his behavior or seen him as a threat, and I would consider myself cautious when it comes to my family. Just as well, Bruce and Kim have always been exemplary dog owners, in my humble opinion. They're careful and conscientious with their pets, and from what I have seen, respectful neighbors and community members. I appreciate the opportunity to speak on their behalf. We'll make copies of this as well.
Sure,
You can
thank you.
keep it.
Okay.
Less than the number.
Copies I have to make.
Hi.
Hi, Officer Kelsey.
Yes, just for the record, my name is Chris Kelsey. I work with the Barnstable Police Department. I'm the Consumer Affairs Officer for the town of Barnstable. So I was able to call the police station and determined that at 13:22 hours, which is 1:22 on that date, Mr. Everett did call and logged a call for 49 Seamus Way, and the call number is 24-12032.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciated.
Would you repeat that, please?
24-12032.
So I'll have to get a copy of that as well.
May I continue?
Yes, you may.
According to the American Kennel Association, which was founded in 1884, Jindos are gentle and protective of their owner. Iko saw an incident where two aggressive dogs were charging toward my beautiful wife, Kim, and were barking aggressively and snarling, and he interposed himself between those attacking dogs and my wife by breaking out of his collar in order to protect his mother. That's his job. As soon as the aggressive male, who I understand is named Archie, was neutralized by pushing him down to the ground, Iko went trotting off to run with a bicyclist. Now, unfortunately, that bicyclist does not appear to be here today, and my wife was so upset she was corralling Iko and getting him back to the car. She's still trembling to this day over this incident. So we don't have the testimony of the bicyclist. We have testimony from the other side of the table saying that the bicyclist was uncomfortable with Iko.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, without that person
Yes.
here, it's testimony provided, but it can't be used in making a determination on the temperament of the dog.
I understand this. Now, this incident took place on the 31st of March. 3 weeks later, Officer Everett sent us a redacted bill from his veterinarian with a demand that we pay the bill within a week. My initial reaction was overruled by my beautiful wife, so we consulted with an attorney who drew up a release of all claims agreement, which we sent back to Officer Everett, and you may have this copy.
I think we have.
We don't have all this.
No? Okay.
That was sent to Officer Everett, and Officer Everett received this and signed for the letter and chose to ignore it. And then on, excuse me while I check my notes here, on May 14th, now this letter came to us on the, as he stated in his testimony, he waited 48 hours to take his dog to the vet.
No, I waited.
On April 23rd, he sent us a demand to pay his vet bill. We responded within a week, as we were instructed to do by Officer Everett, and he chose to ignore our generous offer to pay for the incident that he incited. On May 14th, he filed a claim with small claims court, the district court, enjoining us to pay the bill, which we had already offered to pay. And then, I'm sorry, go ahead, you want to say?
No, yeah, well, while I understand that this is sort of, like part of the entire story, this doesn't have anything to do with the temperament of the dog, which is what this dog hearing is for. Like, what happens in small claims court has
Okay.
nothing to do with what happens in this room today. I understand there are contentious issues between neighbors here, but that has no bearing on the temperament of Iko.
I understand.
Okay?
So,
You're more than welcome to continue. I just want to make that very clear.
we understand that. So then on July 16th, more than 3.5 months after the incident, which Officer Everett incited by loosing his dogs down to harass my wife while she was lawfully walking along the trail in the conservation area with our dog on a leash, as he's supposed to be. Then he files this claim here to come before this body.
3 months later.
Over 3.5 months later. We don't understand the timeline here, why he is continuing with this, but that's not the issue here. The issue is, did our dog protect his mother when she was under attack by 2 aggressive dogs? We were here last fall with you folks. I can't remember if it was September or early October, but we went through all of this. Most of the people that were here at the same time were here. Officer Everett claimed at the time that his dogs have a
Invisible fence.
Thank you very much. I think of it as imaginary fence. But I've looked into these type of things, and I think Heather will address some of that. Heather's seated next to me here. It's not possible to put that through a wooded area. And if they do, there is a wire that runs above the ground and little flags along there. We have a video of the area in question, and I would like Kim to pull that up on the computer right now. We'll figure out how to forward that to you if that is necessary.
Yeah, definitely.
This is the area along the trail where she was walking, and shows the area where the dogs came charging down from his house.
So both sides of testimony do state that you were walking the trails, the dog broke the leash and entered his property. His dogs never
We
left
don't know if
his
he-
property.
I
We
don't know where his property line is.
Yeah, that's what we're
but our-
saying.
My dog
There's-
did get onto their property.
There's no
Okay.
designation
But
as
we
to
don't know where the fence is
where the
and-
property line is. There's
It
no
looks like they're
fencing.
not fenced.
Even though Officer Everett has an above-ground pool in his backyard, and we understand from the town that pools have to be fenced around. There's no fencing to
Not
keep
above ground.
kids wandering along the trail.
Yeah,
I don't
unfortunately,
know all the
that has nothing to do
permutations
with
of
what
the
we're
rules,
here
but
for, yeah.
But we're showing you here that there
It's
is no
just- you just
designation
can't-
as the property
You can't
line.
tell that the property is fenced. So it appears that the dogs are off-leash and can run onto the property, onto the conservation land.
And as I recall from last fall's testimony, Officer Everett advanced the idea that his dogs are always on leash when they are outside of his property. And I seem to recall you saying that
They don't need
that's
to be.
not necessary if you're on your own property.
Yeah, unless there's a town manager order in place that requires you to have your dog on a lead or on a leash when in your yard, they are allowed to be unleashed when they're on their own property
Okay.
if they don't leave the property. The town regulation is that dogs, when not on their property, are required to be leashed. I don't know, Charlie, maybe you can speak to this, if we've had any issues with the Jack Russells being off property prior.
No complaints.
Okay,
Thank you for
Does
your
this continue?
clarification.
Yeah, it's all right.
okay.
It just,
It's a
not-
wooded area.
Yeah, it's
is-
not clear
yeah.
that it's a fenced-in property.
Understood.
Or where the property begins and where it ends, and so we don't know which side of that line. Kimmy could very well have still been in the conservation area. We have no idea.
Okay, understood.
I'm still gathering my thoughts here, so I may wish to speak again before this is over, if
That's fine.
okay.
We, like I said, we'll continue around
like
in
to
circles
ask-
until everybody,
To Heather, if I may at this time?
yep.
Thank you. I'm Heather Pastor. I adopted the Ico and all of the dogs that Kim and Bruce have. They're from a rescue called Jindo Love. We rescue dogs from the South Korean dog meat trade. We do everything in our power to rehabilitate dogs that have been in traumatic situations. We keep them for years and years. There's never a kill situation where we have to put a dog down. We'll leave a dog with a trainer for like 5 years to make sure that they're adoptable before they go out. I have here our website here. I was the vice president during the time of their adoption of Ico. I know every single thing about Iko before he was adopted, where he came from, his temperament. Always a very good dog. I have been to their house numerous amount of times to babysit. My sister babysat Iko for a week, and she doesn't have a lot of experience with dogs, but they were all very good with her. So I stand behind my rescue, and we do, like I said, we are here for our dogs no matter what, no matter how much time goes by, and we'll do anything that we can to protect them from these kind of situations. And even when an adopter won't take them back, we will take them back into our care. And so, like I said, we're always here for our dogs.
Thank you.
Some testimonials. And then also, I wanted to say that we will not adopt a dog to anyone who has an electric fence because they are ineffective for this reason. A dog, Iko, is not aware of an electric fence. So it's not his fault for breaching an electric fence because he is unaware of the electric fence. When he's having dogs charge after him, of course, you know, he's going to have a reaction. Any dog would. If you're going to have two barking dogs coming at you, you know, I mean, it would take a dog on sedatives to not have a reaction of some sort. So, and there is many articles about how electric fences are dangerous because of these reasons. It can allow wild animals to approach your dogs on your property. It can cause, well, let me read a few of these things here. A primary reason to utilize electric fencing, electric is, or otherwise, is to keep your dogs safe by keeping them in your yard. However, Hambry says that invisible fences simply aren't always effective at performing this crucial task. Some dogs will venture outside their electric fence regardless of the shock or pain, she explains, while other dogs, when overly excited or aroused, may temporarily forget and burst through the fence. To make matters worse, once the dog has crossed the line, returning to the yard results in the same shocking experience. While a dog may be able to ignore the pain when focused on chasing a squirrel, for example, they may be more aware of the shock without the distraction of the chase. This, in turn, could discourage them from crossing back into the safety of their yard. At the same time, the only goal of electric fences is to keep your dog in the yard. E-fences don't prevent other animals from entering your dog's space, which may put them at risk for encounters with everything from rabbits to other pets to larger predators. So then I have a whole bunch of cons and alternatives to electric fence. They're very cruel. Like I said, we will not adopt a dog to a person with electric fence because it's not positive punishment. It's negative reinforcement, painful reinforcement. Electric fences can pose risks such as physical injuries and psychological stress. Their effectiveness, while they can contain some dogs, they are not foolproof and can sometimes fail. The ethics of them, they use electric shocks, can be a continuous issue, raising ethical concerns. It can cause fear responses, psychological effects for the dog.
So just while I do understand your personal opinions and researched opinions on electric fences, they're not a prohibited means of keeping your pet on your property in this town, and there are numerous people that use electric fences. So,
If you can't see that they have an electric fence either. So, I mean.
Which I understand, the intent of an electric fence is to keep your dogs on your property. It does not keep anything else from entering your property because they're not wearing the collar that identifies that electric fence.
Correct.
I do understand that.
So, so that being said, though, I know Iko. I've walked with him every step of the way since he's been rescued, and I've been here for Kim and Bruce throughout their adoption. Whenever they have any needs or concerns, we are here for them. And if anything was to happen to Iko, I would hope that he would come back to our rescue.
Understood.
Okay, if you need this.
Is that just like descriptions of electric fence pros and cons? No, but thank you. I appreciate it. Chris?
I don't have any testimony.
Okay, understood.
For moral support.
Okay, understood. So we will circle back to you, skipping the senior animal control officer. Unbelievable. Charlie?
Right, we received a complaint regarding this situation on Monday following the day of the incident. I took a report and I issued a quarantine. I received, after the fact, we have copies of all this. I received some photographs. Clearly, the vet has placed a tube to drain the wound. I don't necessarily,
Oh, Charlie, can you speak into the mic, please?
I don't get into the time frame of when a dog goes to the vet or when it don't. A lot of times that's a personal preference between the veterinarian and the description that's been provided by the dog owner.
Understood.
So, being a busy weekend like that, the vet could have been out of town and suggested going to the 24-hour clinic, may have not. That's not relevant to what has happened, in my opinion. I'm sure you've seen these photographs.
No. You showed me a picture when you came on Monday, and my
Hey,
first question was, is Archie okay? And you said, yeah, he hasn't even gone to the vet.
Well, that should show you where he went and what
So-
happened to him.
I did receive a packet of text messages or emails here, which I can't, make heads and tails of, other than the fact that the incident took place. I received a letter from Kim Reilly, which indicates that the incident happened on Mr. Everett's property. I also received a, I guess it's the top page, certified mail regarding a sign-off for a vet bill of $364.15. Again, that's not relevant to animal control's preview.
Right.
So I guess I should start by talking about the invisible fence systems. There are pros and cons. A number of people use them in town. They have no issues with them. When I have conversation with individuals that have these fences, I always suggest to them that they not have their dogs out unattended, that they be out there with them, because if another animal should happen to come in, that's just a safety thing with myself. Clearly, this happened, two different individuals with two different conversations. Did the dog attack? Where did it attack? Why did it attack? I would suggest, since the front of these people's yards back up to one another, backyard one, that these dogs have been out and they've been allowed to bark at each other through the fence for a number of years, apparently. So obviously, the first time another dog gets a chance to go after the other one, it's going to happen. This has
happen again, too.
this has been a situation that's been building on its own without anyone really thinking about these little particular things that perhaps could have been avoided by having a fence a little bit further away from the other property, or two adjoining fences, et cetera. Does make it difficult. We did place the dog on quarantine. We did release the quarantine. And I guess the delay in the application is probably somewhat of animal control's issue, because there was a pending court matter. It was suggested that the hearing for this particular not necessarily take place if the court had affirmed the actions that were put in place prior. As it turns out, the court did not uphold that decision. So that brought us here today. And no matter how you look at these situations, when a dog, whether it breaks a collar or doesn't, it inflicts damage on another dog, it is considered dangerous.
Okay. And we do have a copy of the quarantine, and like I said, I was present when Iko was released from
Yeah,
quarantine.
you got that?
Yep. Is that all for you, sir? Okay, Mr. Everett?
Yeah, I want to follow up on a couple of statements Kim made and Bruce. Unattended, that lady, whoever her first witness, unidentified, said that in the first meeting. He's never, the unattended, my dogs get attacked by everything as far as danger. There's coyotes, there's fisher cats, the eagles have, I'm not eagles, red tails have dive bombed my female 3 times. I'm never without them. I'm always barking at them. Now, if they charge down the hill, that's their property. They're Jack Russells. They can be a protective dog, too, but they're just going there because that's their thing. They go there, people walk by, they bark. 30 seconds later, they're gone, that's it. And I'm not going to lie about that. That's just being a dog. There's nothing wrong with that. The other thing is, they didn't come out. We were outside for a good 15 to 20 minutes before this happened. We were sitting down enjoying a beautiful Sunday, Easter Sunday, and then an attack. There was no warning, there was nothing. And the reason Archie was behind, he was behind, just hanging out behind the pool. She was 20 feet down the hill from me. I saw both of them. The other thing, charging down, there was no charge. He's gonna bark at them, but coming down the hill, she was attacked, the female went down there after the attack happened, and it was, and as far as like talk, this has nothing to do with it going off on her. What would you do if you saw your dog being killed? Would you be frantic? It's ridiculous, but let me keep going.
Like I said,
Yeah, okay.
how people react in
Okay,
stressful
okay, now-
situations
now we
has
go
no
back.
bearing on the temperament of the
I get
dog.
you. My bad. But listen, the Jindu, and I commend you people, I really do. I know you're dog lovers, and that's good. You don't know me, I don't know you, but I do commend you for what you do. But these dogs are in bad conditions. These are Jindus. Now, he pulled up one example, the American Kennel Society. They've never been banned from any countries. How many countries have banned Jindus? How many countries? Yeah, exactly. So my dog's never been banned from anything. My dog's 25 pounds. This dog was at least 55 pounds.
Well, there are, like breed-specific issues across
Yeah, that's what I'm
most
saying.
breeds.
I didn't bring up the breed specific, they did. And that's what I'm saying. So, and it's just ridiculous, all the things they're bringing up that aren't part of it. It's like, it's like the tea in China. What does it have to do with the attack? That's my property. The dog was improperly leashed, irresponsible owner, gets on my property, attacks my dog, almost attacks my wife and I, and then we go. She can say anything she wants. She's the trainer. She wasn't there. And she can go off on a, who cares about an electrical fence? He got inside my fence, has nothing to do with the attack. My dog was inside the fence. My dogs do not get outside the fence.
I've already stated that
I know,
that has
well, I'm
no bearing.
reiterating because it's just ridiculous what they're bringing, and you guys are letting them bring it into it. I stayed on the straight and narrow, and that's all I have to say.
Okay. Kim?
We have prohibited our dogs to go to the lower level of our yard that abuts his property. Half of our property, our dogs don't even get to use anymore because of his dogs incessantly barking at our dogs over the fence and getting them, they never bark back, but they would run back and forth, and I heard him swear at my dogs on numerous occasions, and we blockaded them. They used to jump over. They figured out a way to get down to the lower level because they're dogs, and it's their property, and they should be able to run and play on our land. But we have prevented them from going down using half of our property to try and mitigate the stress of being his neighbor. And we've worked really hard. Every time our dogs go out and there's one little bark, my skin crawls, and I get them in the house immediately because I'm tired of the confrontations, and we're wasting time, and I'm missing work, and here we are. My dog's not a vicious dog.
So I will just refer back to Charlie, like a dog can be considered to have a dangerous disposition when it attacks another animal or another person. And so it's very clear that this incident did occur and that, cannot be not taken into consideration.
I've never walked him again down that trail. He's housebound. I'm just not willing to take any kind of risk again.
Understood. Mr. Bowen?
Yes. There seemed to be quite a pile of emails with kind of the black
The texts.
background.
Yeah, it's a slew of text messages that were sent to ACO Lewis from Mr. Everett. It's kind of, it does show pictures of the puncture wounds. But yeah, absolutely, you can have copies of that.
I would just interject with those that, please understand that I don't know if they're in order. I tried to download them appropriately, but the way the computers work, it doesn't print the same,
Yeah.
et cetera.
We
So
have
it
this-
may
we
be
have the same
confusing,
trouble at our house.
which is, it's not,
Yeah, I mean,
It's
really,
not relevant to
the
the whole
only
situation.
value I see in it is, there's obviously damage to the dog, and there actually is a picture of the call number from the police department, and of the puncture wound. The rest of it is, kind of all over the place and doesn't necessarily have anything to do with this in particular issue at hand today. And testimony that covers all of it has been covered by both sides.
We,
You can have those if you want. We can make additional copies.
that'd be great.
Yeah, that's fine.
Thank you very much. Again, Jindos are known to be loyal to their owner and very protective of their owner. Our dog Aiko saw that my wife was under attack by two aggressive dogs charging down the hill, snarling and barking at her. He interposed himself, as is what he's supposed to do, protect his owner.
I understand. I do understand that. I just also understand that
Yeah, and
the other dog was
the whole-
injured in this encounter.
We understand that too. And we offered to pay for those injuries, but that was denied, so we could be dragged in here and waste everybody else's time too. But in Korea, Jindos are a special designation, and they are not banned from any country in the world, as far as we know.
Like I said, I'm not speaking to the entire breed. That would be like, if we have a dangerous dog hearing for a pit bull and stating that, like, some people can't get, house coverage because of the type of dog that they have. Like, I understand that there are issues with, like, any breed of dog.
So,
This is, again, just specific to Aiko, not Jindos on a whole.
getting back to our testimony, the incident was incited by Officer Everett by loosing his dogs. Our dog protected my wife, which is what he's supposed to do. He's never outside of our property without being on a leash. Apparently, we didn't realize how strong he is, and he broke out of this collar in an effort to protect my wife.
It was an isolated incident. He has never been aggressive, and I think what happened is, he was reacting to this threat, and he has never bit another dog, and he's had hundreds of interactions with other dogs.
Understood.
I think it was, if he was in fact the one who bit the dog, it was an isolated incident. He's not a vicious dog by nature.
Yeah, he never had any incidents at our shelter either.
Okay.
And he was with hundreds of other dogs.
All sizes, all genders. And I would call it, he gave a correction to that dog to tell him to stop barking at him.
A correction. That's a nice way to put it. Very nice. She went backwards on this. Can I speak now?
Charlie, do you have anything else to add?
let him go first. and
Okay.
Okay, as far as the whole thing with me unattended, I'll say, it didn't happen. I was out there for 20 minutes. There's a couple other things they said that it's just preposterous. This is my land. I told you guys, if you look back at the town meeting, I mentioned this dog and the dog fights, and I said it's that Aiko the Jindo. I said that. 8.5 months later, my dog is 8.5 years old, never been attacked off the trails. They're allowed to run around. I got a beautiful lot for dogs, just like they do. You're telling me I have to keep never said my dogs had to be on leashes. The lady said my dogs weren't attended. She lies. Well, my wife's out there. She's not as vocal as me. She kind of lets them bark and then waits for the people to go by because she's shy. But somebody is always out there, either me or my wife or my daughter. That's it. We're never unattended. We're afraid our dogs are going to get hurt by the wildlife. But no, it's our neighbor's dog 8.5 years later. Nothing, no attack whatsoever. It gets attacked by the neighbor's dog. And I'll tell you what, dog, just because they're good with people does not mean they're good with other little dogs or certain dogs. They set off. I've met plenty of friendly dogs, plenty of pit bulls, but they'll bite other dogs.
I understand, just to go back to what Senior ACO Lewis had stated, this is obviously a long-standing issue where the dogs bark, the other dogs react, and he stated, this unfortunately was probably inevitable under certain conditions, and those certain conditions took place on the 31st of March.
Can I add one more thing, please?
Sure.
For 3 years, when the dogs come down and they bark at my dogs and they go back and forth, he gets underneath that lining they have, and he grabs, there used to be it's a donkey pen is what it is, former donkey, so it's like chicken wire, but it's much spread out, much stronger. He goes up with his mouth, and he yanks at this thing for 3 years. She knows he wanted to get at him. She knows he wanted to get at him. It was an easy fix. Walk him out on the trails.
Okay.
That's it, thank you.
Yep.
Everett's just going to comment a couple of things. Obviously, as this thing has been ongoing, the situation is very emotional between parties, making it much more difficult to deal with on a smaller scale, which is why I recommend a hearing to get this thing, so we can get some things in place that this won't happen again. Hopefully won't happen again. We talk about breeds. I don't know Korean dogs off the top of my head as much as I do know Jack Russells or Pit Bulls and things like that. They're an isolated breed, but under the dog license, for some reason, it's listed as a Malamute mix. I don't know if that's an error when the clerk put these, there was 6 licenses issued to the address, if there was a mistake or not, but, on our paperwork, I had placed Malamute mix, so that's my error.
Okay.
This Jindu is something new, which I just learned, is what the dog really is.
Okay.
The property lines make this situation very difficult. Pork chop lots have been a menace to many dog owners here in the town of Barnstable. You've got a dog in someone's front yard, you've got a dog in someone's backyard. They see each other through the windows. It's an accident waiting to happen. And this is not the first case that I've had similar. There's no question that when another dog attacks a dog, regardless of where it is, whether it breaks a collar or not, that dog is supposed to be under control of the owner. If my dog breaks its collar and I holler for him to stop, he stops, as should every dog. Unfortunately, that just doesn't happen when we have heightened situations, which is exactly what we have on a continuous basis here. And it's my hope after we leave here today that cooler heads will prevail and that we can isolate this problem and move on.
Understood. Okay. You're all done? Okay.
One more question. Under town ordinances, if you find against us an ICO is designated a vicious dog, what does that mean?
He will not be declared a vicious dog.
That's no longer a declaration.
He will be declared a dangerous dog and/or a nuisance. Under the state law, that's all the
Those are your
town is
two
permitted
options.
to say.
So what does that designation mean?
It could mean a variety of things. Like in some instances, you're required to post your property. In some instances, like the dog has, it depends on the situation. But if you're asking, like, if the dog will be exiled or ordered to be euthanized, those are no longer practices in towns. So it would be like, I don't know, like sometimes there's requirements for muzzles to be worn when the dog is being walked, a specific type of leash to be used to guarantee that this type of situation doesn't happen again. Those types of recommendations are often made in these types of situations, but every situation is unique and handled potentially slightly differently than another.
Question for something you just said. What do you mean by posted? Do you mean
Oh,
like
like
a sign that
sometimes
says
like
no
people
hunting,
are
fishing, or
required, like
trespassing?
sometimes people will continue to, keep a dog that's had numerous incidents, like say like biting the postman or delivery people or whatever, what have you. And under some conditions, you're required to physically like post on your property with a placard or something that you have a dangerous dog on site.
He won't be rehomed or anything.
No.
That's my fear.
And in
I love my
speaking,
dogs more.
No,
than-
the town can't require that to take place. I hear that often in hearings, but I don't believe that's been a practice for at least the term of my life. So that's not something that would be
State
recommended.
law changed a number of years ago that prohibits a town from banishing a dog
Right,
from the town.
right.
It either has to be euthanasia or some type of a restraining order.
Yeah.
our dogs love the postman and the Amazon driver and the FedEx driver because they bring boxes of food for them. And
Understood.
they know what's in those boxes. They're very excited when they come.
Sure, and like I said, this isn't that type of a dangerous dog hearing. Obviously, that's not the issue at hand. The issue at hand is that there was this encounter with Archie that resulted in injury to the
From what
dog.
Charlie just said, Ico is not under threat of being euthanized.
No.
Is that correct?
I don't, it's up to the town manager.
What if he attacks again?
We have had instances where a dog has been deemed dangerous and then has attacked again outside of the town manager order, whether violated by the person who has issued the town manager order or just strictly by the dog. Oftentimes, there is a second hearing and then a new recommendation is made. But at least in my tenure, I've not seen a situation in which isolated incident results in a dog being required to be euthanized.
And we have taken the steps so that it will never happen again. We've petitioned off our yard so he cannot go near his dogs, and I don't take him for walks on the conservation land.
Understood.
And I don't park down near that entrance to the conservation land with my other dogs.
Okay.
So it will never happen again.
Understood.
And our fence line along the back of the property that abuts Officer Everett's property is actually 8 feet inside of our fence line. So when Officer Everett's dogs come up to the fence, they're already on our property.
Okay. So
That's not relevant.
It's not
Right.
irrelevant because my line goes 6 feet from
we,
their fence.
I'm not speaking to property lines here.
We don't have a
We're-
fence.
That's what he's
Again,
lying about.
yeah.
It doesn't even come, there's a big, it's like a gauntlet. He's full of,
It's not relevant.
All right, ladies and gentlemen,
Yeah.
at this point, I think everything that needs to be testified to has been.
In regards to the incident that has brought us here today, yes, I do believe that we have heard all relevant testimony. So to avoid getting more into, emotional conversations that don't have any bearing on the situation, I'm going to close the hearing. It is 11:35 a.m.